Good morning. Welcome to my channel. My name is Shoshana and I give guidance through the spiritual awakening. And I want to talk a little bit about getting to know yourself intimately and learning how to work with yourself. Um, we all went to school and we were conditioned by society, by school, by our parents, by our surroundings into believing that we need to be a certain way, that there is a certain standard and we measure ourselves according to that standard. And that standard is very, very narrow and it is one road. And each of us are individual, especially those of us now that are on this spiritual path and this spiritual journey. We're starting to break free of that and to realize that it's not one size fits all, that each and every one of us is individual and have our own talents, our own gifts, our own God essence that is flowing through us. We each have our own energetic field. Energetically, have you ever met somebody and that you just connect with them immediately? You like their vibe. What is that vibe? That vibe is the vibration, is their their energetics. And how every single person that you meet touches you different. And no matter how much they try to change themselves, that first initial meeting with them gives you an imprint of the feel of that person. So all of the education and the school and the way that we were taught that we're supposed to be cannot bypass that. And so as we're on the spiritual path and we begin to get to know ourselves more intimately and how we tick and how we work, if we can start seeing ourselves more clearly and understanding what it is that we have come here to be, and it is just being, right? Be, when you allow yourself just to be, when you clear out all the clutter and all of the conditioning, you are left just with your pure essence of who you are and what you are made of in your essence. And when you start purifying yourself in that way, what naturally shines through you will be able to shine through without all of the filters altering it, right? Trying to conform myself into being something else that will be more accepted by society. And in any case, you can't hide who you are. Who you are is always coming to the surface. And so you can either purify yourself and allow it to flow through you naturally and purely, or you can try to conform it and change yourself, and then you come through as inauthentic. Then you come through as fakey. And any of you know that you've met people that are act fakey, or like you're talking to a face? It's inauthentic, and you close up next to those type of people. And typically those type of people are living within the ego completely, and therefore they're very critical and can be very judgmental. And so by nature, it's like those trees that you touch with all the little leaves that you touch, and when you touch them, they go shh, they close their leaves. It's kind of like that. You feel yourself pulling back and closing. And when you learn yourself and learn how to work with yourself, then you can get into a natural flow that will naturally guide you to people, situations, workplaces that are attuned to you, that you naturally vibe with. And I'll kind of give you an example on myself. So I was diagnosed in the past with ADHD, and you can tell, and if you've been following me on my videos, a lot of times I'll go from one subject to another. Everything leads to one thing to another. And whenever I find a diagnosis like that, it's like, okay, well, I have a map now. Let's figure this out. Let's go ahead and let's, because the way that I see it, that the diagnoses are there to tell you that you're not okay and to like adjust you, medicate you to make you more normal. And what I've realized about ADHD is that it is actually a type of genius. And how did I realize this? I remember I was watching this documentary about science. I'm really interested in science. And every few minutes I had to rewind the documentary because I was losing focus. And so I started looking at it within myself, so analyzing myself. Why am I losing focus? And what I realized is that my interest, because I have interests and I'm curious, things were sparking my interest and my mind would start going off in the direction of whatever was sparked. And so I could see that, and I'm sure that many of you are recognizing this within yourselves. I could see that while there was one narrative going in the documentary, my mind was going along that narrative, but sparking into other branches, kind of like a tree, was branching out. So I was self-educated, educating myself as the documentary was progressing. So let's say something sparked my energy, I would go off in a thought process and I would figure that aspect out completely, make sense of it, do the entire process within my mind, and then come back to the documentary. By the time I came back, I had already lost my place and had to rewind. And this was happening over and over and over. And I realized that instead of just being educated in one narrative, my mind was going off and self-educating like a tree. So my education was happening like branching out like a tree. And what I realized also is that I do have focus. I have very intense, sharp focus. When it is something that interests me, I can go very deep into rabbit holes. I can go so far in. And I have learned how to work with myself and how to accept myself, because I used to beat myself up over it. I used to think, okay, you're not normal. You have to sit down and focus, try to force myself to sit down and focus on something when my mind kept on going off in different directions, and even self-medicate to make myself be kind of normal, when I realized that this is how my mind works and there's a purpose for this. It's not, there wasn't a mistake when it's not society said that God was wrong and everybody has to be in this way, otherwise they need to be medicated so that they can be normal. We were all created in the image of God. We were all created different. Each and every one of us has our own talents and unique capabilities and ways of being. And if I have that, where I have this branching off with my attention, there is a purpose for it in my being and who I am, and it perfectly accents what my gifts are, and it does. As I've realized this, I started working with myself. I see how I work, and started accepting myself instead of trying to force myself, because I would try to force myself to sit down. You need to pay attention to this, and I would keep on getting up and going and doing things and trying to force myself. So not only was I suffering in trying to force myself to do something that was I would find my mind going in other places. I would find my body in other places. And so not only was I suffering and punishing myself, and why aren't you doing this? Why can't you just stay focused? Just do this one task. And not only was I punishing myself, but I really wasn't getting anything done because I was so focused on getting that one thing done that it was not giving me the quiet in my mind to accomplish anything. Whereas when I started accepting myself and loving myself through the spiritual awakening process, and realizing how I work and what makes me tick, and that the way that I work is that I have multiple things going on all at once. I do a tapping system. You can see that also in my videos. A lot of times I'll start on one subject and I'll end up in a completely different place that I wasn't expecting to end up in. This morning I did a video that I don't think I'm going to post, but it was about expectations. And it's kind of connected, and that's where this video came forth from, is that when we try to force ourselves into specific outcomes and we hold ourselves in some kind of expectation, then we narrow the options and the opportunities. Whereas when we have a basic idea, it's like you come up, you come up to the top of the mountain, you look around and say, okay, I want to go in that direction. And then you come back down and you start getting into the moment and just moving in that direction. It may take you somewhere else that you didn't expect to arrive at. But wherever, if you are in the moment and you are doing the natural next step that presents itself to you, and you are in an elated state, so in your highest, in a elated vibration, feeling good and doing the natural next step, it will lead you to more of that. It will lead you into things that are aligned with that state of being by nature. So when you start clearing out the clutter and come back to your core vibration, by nature, you will begin to move towards what is aligned with you, and what is aligned with you will begin to move towards you. Where if you are your authentic self, you will attract what authentically matches your state of being, whether it is your immediate surroundings, your home, your life partner, your friends, the workplace, the work environment, it will naturally lead you to where you need to be. And so, for instance, with me, when I started learning how to work with myself, I see that I naturally am attracted to doing many things all at once. And so when I learn how to work with myself, so for instance, right now, I do a tapping system. Right now I'm making this video, but I'm also working on my site. I made bread dough that's rising now in the oven. I'm working outside on orgonites. By the way, these are orgonites. They are energetic, based on technology by Wilhelm Reich, and they are available in my website if you want to take a look at the catalog. This one also, but this one isn't in the website yet. But they have different crystals in them, different symbols, and a spiral, 5 different types of metals for purification, and you can read more about it in my website if you're interested in it. And I have many different examples there. I'm also learning tarot cards. So as this is also something I'm doing this morning. I've already meditated. I have laundry going, and I have many more things all at once going. And what I realize is that when I used to, beat myself up over something and say, oh, you have to accomplish this. You have to get busy. As soon as you get up in the morning, you just do this one thing, this one task, narrow my expectations down to one outcome. And then I couldn't sit and focus. So I would be beating myself up over it. I wasn't working with my own nature. I was going against myself. Whereas now I kind of flow. My day flows and I allow it to open up. So I do want to get my site accomplished. So I got up and I opened that up, and then I wanted to bake bread. And so I started doing that. And then I wanted to finish the organite. So I have like this tapping system where I allow myself, because I know how I work and I know how to work with myself. Now it seems like my days are, first of all, I enjoy my days. I allow my day to flow, and I allow myself to flow with my day. And it keeps it also very exciting because I follow what excites me the most. And I do that, and then my mind will be pulled to something else. And I'll go, okay, well, let me go start that. And I start that. And then I come back to my site and I finish that. And then I do this. And what happens is that all day long I am tapping on many different things. And my accomplishment has become this much greater. And I'm doing it in an elated state of being, enjoying it as I do it, and not feeling guilty and ashamed of myself, and you should be doing more of this and should be more of that. And by the end of the day, I'm sitting on far more accomplishment. It's not that every day I feel very accomplished, but when I do look back on each day, I can see that I brought a whole bunch of different fronts forward. And so that is how I have learned to work with myself. And when you can see yourself and understand what makes you tick and how you work, and you start naturally flowing with that and working, it doesn't mean that it works like I work. It means that you work like you work. And when you can start working with that and allowing yourself to let go, because this spiritual awakening, that is, if you can get that, that is so important. It is one of the most important things to understand. And as we go along the spiritual awakening, the letting go, we have to let go and release again and again and again. Let go of expectation. We let go of people. We let go of ourselves. We let go of our beliefs. We let go of jobs. We let go of relationships. We again and again and again have to learn how to not try to hold on to anything. If we are holding on to something, we are reducing it to the finite, because we are completely expansive beings, and there is infinite possibilities and options at all moments available to us. And so if we are trying to hold on to one state of being, we are making our life smaller. We are, and if we want to expand to rise into a state of heaven on earth, to a state of of fulfilling who we are and what we are, we have to learn how to let go. It's just letting go again and again and again. And even of the concept of letting go, and just being. When you keep on letting go, it keeps on bringing you further and further and further into pure consciousness, which means in the now. There's so many different ways to look at this and so many different ways to get to the same outcome. It's coming into the perpetual moment now, coming into the one point. And so just learning yourself, and everything is happening exactly as it needs to happen, and allowing things to unfold for you, and learning how you work, and embracing it and loving yourself and allowing yourself to flow. That will lead you. That is the quickest route to where you need to be. Even if you feel like, oh no, it's getting out of control. It's getting out of my control. That is the letting go. It has to get out of your control. You are the ego control, and then just getting into that flow. There's more control in the flow than there is in trying to hold on to things. When you're trying to hold on to things, you are perpetually out of control, because everything is moving, including you. So if you're trying to hold something in place, it's going to be an effort to hold that thing in place. Whereas if you can come into that perpetual knowing that everything is okay, everything is good, just as you are, where you are, everything is playing out in your favor and needs to be there in order for your progress to happen. So you are exactly where you need to be in every single moment in time, and it can't be different. You have to go through every single stage of this. And so there is, just let yourself be, let yourself off the hook, and self-love will ultimately bring you through you to the love of everything and all, because you are of everything and all. The more you love yourself intimately, know yourself and love yourself, and you cannot love yourself without knowing yourself. So you have to be willing to look even at the places that hurt, and love yourself and know that it's there for your highest good. And the more you love yourself, the more you can love others, the more you will love life, the more you will see miracles in everything, including yourself. And so I am sending you so much love and a big hug on this path. And if you would like to speak with me and kind of get a reflection or a different perspective, then my contact information is in my website below. I love you. Thank you.